Thank you so much for having me. My name is Hassan Chibirango. I am married. In fact, this month we are making 14 years in marriage, my wife and I. Her name is Joan. We have 4 beautiful children. I was born and raised in Uganda to a Ugandan father and a Rwandan refugee mother who they met in Uganda. I finished my bachelor's degree at Makerere University, a bachelor's of arts with education. Then as soon as we graduated, I moved to Rwanda, and in 2008, when I came down here, I came to start a business and run the business for 7 years. Then I transitioned from business to serving in our local church, Christian Life Assembly, as a youth and a men's pastor. I served there for 5 years, and then I transitioned out to leadership consultancy, where I train and coach leaders in the marketplace. And currently I'm also running a program called the I Lead program. It's a John Maxwell Youth Leadership Program, and I'm privileged to serve as the program manager of the program. And this program is being implemented by a local organization called African New Life Ministry. So I was born in 1984. I'm a January baby. We were quite many. My father had 18 children. So as you hear, my name is Hassan. So I was born in a Muslim family, and usually Muslim families are quite large. Yeah, and then I have 17 siblings plus myself. I'm the second last born of my father. Yeah, and the first born of my mom. So I have a couple of stepmoms in between and many step siblings in between. When I grew up, I wanted to do business, which I started off doing. I started doing business when I was quite young. My father died when I was just transitioning into teenagehood, and then we lost almost everything, and I started to work in order to pay my own school fees and the school fees for my siblings. So I developed a passion for business. So I thought my life would be in business. But when I went to the university, I had so many friends who were doing law, and then I had a desire to become a lawyer. I was never able to do law at the university. I settled for education, but then I continued on in business. So, but my life has really taken different seasons, and passions, new passions have grown along the way. My current passion, which I feel is my lifelong calling and mission, is to help others find their mission and their calling. And that's what I do. I do it through different channels, through the pastoral work, leadership development. And I think I have found a place where I want to stay until whenever I go to heaven. Yeah.
So how did you end up into the ministry?
Yeah, so when I moved to Rwanda, my wife and I joined this church called CLA, Nyarutarama, Christian Life Assembly, in 2008. Yeah, so we had just moved to Rwanda, we were newlyweds, and that's how we joined. We joined the youth, we were volunteers in the youth. My wife joined the choir. She's been in the choir ever since. And we served in a voluntary capacity as volunteers until 2015, when I actually transitioned full-time to work at CLA. So that's how we joined the ministry. So I was in the multimedia business before I transitioned into full-time ministry. And my best friend and I, when we moved to Rwanda, we started a company here called Digitech Studios. And it became the largest photography and videography company in Kigali. And when I transitioned, he continued doing the work, and he's still running the business, and it's still quite a big business. So my passion was photography then. That's what I did. I was a photographer. I did a lot of work for corporate entities. We did weddings and all those things. So that's the business I was in before I transitioned. Yeah. So I transitioned from Islam to Christianity when I was 19 years old. And it was through a personal kind of tragedy I went through. I lost my mom, and there was a lot of drama in my family because my mom was a Christian. My dad had married her, but my dad was a Muslim. So there was a bit of drama from my father's side of the family where they didn't want to to do anything with the Christian dead body, if you will. Yeah, and so there was a few people from my mother's small church who took over the burial. They took care of everything, and for me, just observing that in my greatest place of grief, I decided to walk away from this religion called Islam. It was a personal choice. But then I retained the name. For the reason I retained the name is that I wanted that part of my testimony to stick, because there's a sense of curiosity it raises, and it's like a conversation starter. How can you be a Christian and called Hassan? Much more, how can you be a pastor and called Hassan? I'm like, okay, let's talk. Let me tell you my story. And in a way, it gives me an opportunity to witness my faith to people. Yeah, so that is really what happened in a nutshell, and how I transitioned from Islam to Christianity. I just launched this book a week ago. I launched it on Labor Day, The Gift of Monday. And the book says, how successful people find delight in work on the day dreaded by most. This book was inspired by an article I read just as we were getting into the first lockdown in March of 2020. And this article was that a certain country in the West had an issue of working males that were getting heart attacks. And they realized that 80% of the men who were getting heart attacks in that country were getting heart attacks between 8 and 9 a.m. on Monday morning. And the article continues to talk about this thing called Monday blues, where it's an actual anxiety and stress and psychological almost sickness that invades people. It starts Sunday evening, especially people who work in toxic environments. And for many who have weak hearts, who have issues with their health, this deep stress that is brought about by work causes some men's hearts to stop. So for me, that intrigued me, and I was like, how is Monday killing men, and what is it about Monday? So that was the inspiration behind the book. And of course, I did a lot of research around the book, and I realized that Monday is simply representative of a deeper problem. And the deeper problem is the problem of work, and people having challenges at work and hating their work for different reasons. Yeah, so I wrote The Gift of Monday really to bring back the joy and the spark in this thing that we're going to be doing almost for half of our lives. I mean, if you leave university and you join the workspace at 25, and let's say you retire at 65, and let's say you live for 80 years, you're going to be working for half your life, 50% of your life. That is 150,000 hours on average. So if you're going to spend half of your life working, then why do we subject ourselves to hating this thing that brings our livelihood, helps us pay our bills? I think we can find a place of abiding joy and love for work. And that's what the Gift of Monday is about. So the Gift of Monday has an intention to turn really the tide for many professionals, workers, to move away from the idea of tolerating work. I have nothing else to do. Let me just go and be at this place that I hate. And I tell them, look, we all have one life to live, just one life to live. And in this one life, 50% of it you're going to spend it working. It's the most productive part of your life. It is possible even if you're in an environment that is not as enabling for good work, even if you are under what you'd call a toxic boss, you can still find a place of joy in your work. So I address different things in the book. I talk about why people hate their work. I talk about bosses and leaders, because the number one reason, according to statistics, that people hate their jobs and wish they could leave, but they can't because they have to pay bills, is bosses and leaders. So I really get into the depth of having a conversation through the book with bosses and say, look, you can make your workplace a place that people want to go to, a place that conducive where people thrive. And when somebody said that people don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses. And it rings true because, again, it could be conscious or unconscious for a boss to create or be part of what you'd call a toxic work environment. But bosses have the primary responsibility of changing the environment and sometimes changing themselves and their own attitude, because they are stewards over the people that they have headship over. So I have seen people who love their workplace. They are not paid much, but they are treated well. They are treated with a sense of dignity and honor, and their bosses care about them. They know them, they see them, they recognize them. These people are not just like a matrix. You know, this is the output we want out of you, and we forget that these are people with feelings, with actual emotions, and people who go through life problems. Sometimes we get blinded by that because of the bottom line. We need to move this company to profitability, work hard, but then we need to take care of our people. So this book addresses that. It also addresses the future of work. 31st of March, His Excellency, I saw in the papers, was hosted at an event of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. It was being launched at Convention Center. And this was really Rwanda embracing the future that we're going into, the future of robotics, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things. And I'm telling workers in the book that the future of work is we're going to be contending for jobs with robots. And robots are going to be working effectively and efficiently with no feelings. Robots won't wake up in the morning and say, today I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And I gave an example of a company called IBM. And IBM has developed a machine called Watson. And this machine is going to be in the call center business. It will be able to make more than 10,000 calls in 2 minutes. So in essence, it will replace 10,000 jobs in 2 minutes. So call center jobs that have been outsourced to the East, India and all that, all those jobs are going to be wiped away because a machine is going to do it cheaper, faster, and more efficiently. So what I'm contending with in the future of work is to tell people, how do you posture yourself for the world that we are walking into with the Fourth Industrial Revolution being a reality? When you're authoring a book or writing a book, there's always a challenge of, we call it the imposter syndrome, where you feel like, I don't think I have anything to say. You feel like an imposter. Others call it writer's block, where you don't have anything to say. So it took me 2 years to write this book. So there's that sense of inadequacy that we all have. You're like, okay, will the information make sense? There are more brilliant people out there who are authorities on certain subject matters. So that was a bit challenging for me. But secondly, because this is a conceptual book, it's not like a book about my life. It's not an academic book. Yes, it has a lot of research in it, but it's a book to help people. And as a conceptual book, the challenge is always, it has to make sense. When somebody reads it, when I hand it to you and you read it, it needs to help you find a sense of help for your own life, because it's in the self-help category. And to claim to help people is not an easy thing, because then you are saying that you know something. So there's that challenge where I question my own ideas. But I felt, you know what, even with the challenges that we face, one of the challenges being that, and this has been stereotyped, which I don't necessarily believe in, but it's a general thing of our people don't want to read. So who's going to read your book? Yeah, but I believe that the tide is changing. People are seeking for information. Our goal is, now that we have it in print, is to put it in digital platforms so that people can access it easily. So those are some of the challenges. So this book is being sold by my publisher, our publisher Imagine We Rwanda, and people can go to their social media sites. They can actually order the book if they're in Kigali, and the book they pay via Momo. There's a Momo code that they have, and then the book will be sent, it will be delivered to their doorstep. So the book is 15,000 francs, and if you need the book delivered to you, there's a delivery service of only 1,000 francs and it can be delivered to you. So the publisher is Imagine We. When you go to their different social media platforms, you can find details on how to get the book and the numbers to contact.
All right. So coming to the end of our interview, okay, this is your first book. What plans do you intend to write more books?
Yes, I do intend to write more books, obviously. I have an exciting book project coming up, and I won't give it away until it comes out, but it's really, I feel like the next book is going to be my gift to Rwanda, because one of the reasons why I moved back home here was I have this crazy love for Rwanda, just like many Rwandans do. And I've seen what Rwanda has been through, you know, the colonial era, the genocide against the Tutsi, trying to rebuild from that place of disadvantage to where Rwanda is now, that it's a global icon of a nation. So I'm planning to write a book. In fact, the layout is ready, and it's going to be my gift to Rwanda, really, just to tell the story of our nation. My advice to the youth and the young people, the young professionals, just to help them develop a good attitude towards work, is to know that, look, success doesn't come instantly, easily. Forget the hype we see on social media, where a kid who is 22 years old says, you know, I've been able to, you know, I'm in crypto, I make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Those in the technological world are called unicorns. Unicorns are the very rare cases of success that are brought to light because of certain technological enablements. But largely, we have to work. We have to work. It takes years to build wealth. It takes years to build experience, and that principle has not changed. So this is what's happening to the young people today, is that they're being role modeled and finding examples of people of overnight success, and sometimes they think that is the way things are. So when they try their hand on something and it doesn't work, many give up. Many feel depressed about it. And it just happens to be a wrong kind of mindset and attitude that some of them carry. In the book, I talk about the challenge with the world that the millennials or the Gen Zs or Gen Xs are facing. And that challenge is that they live in a very different world than the world of our fathers. It's a highly competitive world. It's a world that is full of so much information, and therein lies the opportunities, you know. One of the things that I've seen in our nation, Rwanda, is that Rwanda has created such an enabling environment for young people to thrive. But even with an enabling environment, the principles don't change. The principles of grit, perseverance, hard work, work ethic, having a sense of character, being patient, all these things contribute to a great work ethic. So mine is to advise young people is be patient and learn from our parents that have gone ahead of us. They really had to work hard and put in the work, that the principles of success have not changed. Success is not built overnight. It is built over a long period of time. Yeah, so they need to add value to themselves. They live in the greatest time in history where it's easier for them to get information than it was maybe for the previous environments. But, you know, success is not instant. Yeah. I will just maybe read an excerpt for this book with your permission. And this is out of chapter 8, where I write to leaders. And it's my favorite chapter in the book because I love serving leaders. And as I end this chapter, the chapter is called The Boss Factor, the common denominator for team health. And as I end the chapter, this is what I say. I say, whether you're a CEO, a country director, program manager, department head, unit manager or supervisor, whatever leadership role makes you a boss over other people, it is possible to become a great boss. Being a boss has pervasive effects on the team and the organization. So as you grow in your leadership, strive to become the boss people want to work for, report to, and serve under. Develop the traits that make for a great boss and unlearn the traits that make for bad bosses. There is no greater legacy for a leader than to have a positive imprint in the hearts of the people he or she has the opportunity to lead. There is no greater stewardship for a leader than the stewardship of people. When all is said and done, you want it to be said of you that you were a good boss who took care of the people in your care.